Okay, this is writing and graphing inequalities. So, the first question is, John's goal is to have more than negative $7 in his bank account by the end of the month. The variable, D, is the number of dollars in John's bank account at the end of the month. Write an inequality in terms of D that is only true if John meets his monthly goal. So John wants to have more dollars in his bank account than negative 7. So the dollars, D, and notice here how it tells us what D represents, the number of dollars in John's bank account at the end of the month. So the dollars has to be greater than negative 7. We put greater than and not greater than or equal to because it said his goal is to have more than negative $7 in his bank account. If it said the same or more than negative 7, then we would put greater than or equal to, but it's just greater than in this case. All right, graph x is greater than 0. Okay, so here, greater than or equal to 0, I'm sorry. X is greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to put our dot, our boundary point on 0, and I am going to fill it in because 0 is part of the solution. So I'm then going to put my line and arrow to all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 0. So all the numbers going to the right. And I make sure I put my arrow at the end to show that even though our number line stops here, any number bigger than that would also work. The next one, x is less than or equal to negative 1. So here's where I'm going to put my boundary point, my dot on negative 1. I again need to fill it in because I have a less than or equal to symbol. And then I need to point with my line and arrow to all the numbers that are less than negative 1. So all the numbers going to the left. All right, graph x is greater than 2. X is greater than 2. So I'm putting my boundary point on 2, and notice that I am not filling it in this time. If you have a greater than symbol, it is a open dot, an open boundary point. So x is greater than 2. I'm going to point my arrow to all the numbers that are greater than 2. All right, so now we're going to do the opposite. We have an inequality graphed for us, and we need to say what it is. So we're going to use the variable x. So my boundary point is right here on that 3. So we have x, that's negative 3. So we have x and negative 3 that we're going to be working with, and we have to figure out what symbol goes on the inside. Now, it is pointing to all these numbers that are bigger than 5, or bigger than negative 3. It goes all the way to 5, and it would keep going if our number line continued to move. So this is going to be numbers that are greater than negative 3, but also because this is a filled in point, it needs to be greater than or equal to negative 3. What does the inequality on the graph represent? Okay, so I have x, again, that we're using as our variable, and we have now the number 2 because my boundary point's on the number 2. And notice that this time it is not filled in, so that means I'm going to have either greater than or less than, no equal to. 2 is not part of our solution. So it looks like that we're pointing to the left to all the numbers that are less than 2. So x is less than 2. That is what this one is representing. So just as a review, if we have a boundary point that is filled in, it's either going to be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, or equal to. If it is an open dot on, or an open boundary point, it could either be greater than or less than. Those are our only options.